and just looking forward to give them ample time, about 2 or 3 minutes for them to at least reach the quorum, and then we get to start with our introduction. Otherwise, welcome so much. If you had shared with a friend about this event today, please reach them out, tell them we have already started, and tell them to join in before we begin the presentation. So in about 2 or 3, at maximum 4 or 5 minutes, we should be starting out our webinar talk. So please encourage your friends, or just remind them to join in as we are just about to start. Thank you. All right. So we can proceed. I'm sure they will be joining us as we go along. For the interest of time, we'll just start. So once again, welcome so much to today's Twiga Talk webinar, whereby we will be discussing about Microsoft Power Platforms. Before I even proceed, let me introduce myself. My name is Victor Waleula. I work at Twiga Foods as a site tech engineer, and I'll be your host today as we continue getting to learn more about what it is in store for us today. Also, I would like to welcome all the Twiga's staffs who are here. Welcome so much. The participants from outside, you are so much welcome to learn with us today. Just take a good seat and relax, be keen in listening to get to learn what it is in store for you. So allow me to introduce our guest speaker today in a special way. So our guest speaker today goes by the name Foronderi. Foronderi is an enterprise engineer at Twiga Foods. His role is to enhance business processes using already purchased applications and building or sourcing for new application. This role requires that he is keen on business operations, being critical of how to balance efficiency and cost. He is part of the team that has made Twiga seamlessly operate on the cloud. So, Foro, welcome so much, and let us know what you have in store for us today as we listen through. So in case you have any question, feel free to write up your question on the chat section. I will be sampling the questions, and then of course we'll take the questions in the last about 15 minutes of after the presentation is done. So listen in keenly, and if you have a question, don't hesitate to raise it up. Foro, I hope you're ready. Welcome so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor, for that. I'm honored for that introduction. All right, and thank you participants for joining this particular call. And I hope it will be as informative and as descriptive as possible. So I will jump straight into it. And I will start with a brief introduction of where Twiga as a company has come from and how we are using the tool that we're going to talk about today, which is the Microsoft Power Platform. So this particular webinar is centered around how Twiga is using Microsoft Power Platform and how it is helping us to enhance business processes and what advantages or what fruits we're actually reaping from that. So initially, like any other company, we used Microsoft applications, that's Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and just the Office suite. But that is just the scratch of the surface, right? There's much more that we have been uncovering. And these particular things that we've uncovered over the years, I would say maybe like 3 years, has been as a result of the company growing. So obviously with more people means more problems and more solutions. And therefore, we have uncovered some interesting things from Microsoft, which include user policy management, device management, that's under Intune. We have security, that's Microsoft 365 security. And then you have Power Platform. And Power Platform is what I will be taking you through today. So right there, we have an infographic to show the Power Platform. And at the top there, you'll see the different applications that are in what we call the Microsoft Power Platform suite. All right. So from the left, we have Power Apps, we have Power Automate, Power BI, Power Virtual Agents, and Power Pages. Now, those are the different tools or applications that we find under Power Platform, and they have been aggregated as such because one, they're interoperable, meaning you can use either of them within the other app. So if you're in Power Apps, you can use Power Automate or Power BI and vice versa. Right? So you have those applications or tools at the top there. And then lying underneath all these applications are what we call cross-cutting features. All right. And these cross-cutting features at the extreme left again, there we have data connectors. And so data connectors, they enable users or people who are going to create actually the apps to be able to connect different apps and different devices. Think of it like bridges. Okay, so connectors could be when you want to use maybe like an Outlook function, or you want to use any other application. There are several. There's Africa Stocking, there's Excel. There are so many other connectors that are involved within the Power Platform. The next one we have there is AI Builder, and AI Builder just incorporates artificial intelligence into all these tools so that you're able to inject some artificial intelligence into all the applications that you do create. The next one with a green icon there is Microsoft Dataverse. And Microsoft Dataverse is just Microsoft's own scalable data service that can be used by all these applications. The next one is PowerFX. And PowerFX is a low-code language for expressing logic within the Power Platform. So it's like a unique way of how you're able to infer to objects, and yeah, it's like another programming language on its own. And then you have there the last way we have managed environments. And so managed environments within Power Platform, think of it as containers. So if you're creating solutions, you put them in different containers, and this actually helps to separate roles, to separate security requirements, and even the target audience. So if you want particular members within your organization to access particular apps and not any other, if you have first-line workers, you have executives, you can actually segregate them in such that they're engaging in a managed environment. And off from that, what I've just mentioned, there are actually some pretty good things that we can actually say why us as Twiga, we are using Microsoft Power Platform. And the first one, obviously, is accelerated innovation. And with that one, I have to say, working in an agile environment and Twiga being a very agile environment, Power Platform allows you to create applications and use them on the go. So this particular environment allows for that. The other advantage we are actually getting from that is and easy to scale. So we are paying for what we use at the moment. So you don't pay any more, any less. It's good for business. The next advantage you have there is that it's device agnostic. And by this, I mean it can run on any device and any browser, as long as you have basically just internet connection. And then you have the AI-powered advisory. So this one is a tool that is provided by Microsoft and cuts across actually the Power Platform and many other Microsoft tools. You just get advice on how to improve your application, if there's a lag in processes, if there's something you can improve maybe in a form or in any other tool that you've created, in a dashboard, in a BI dashboard, you get that kind of advisory. The last and definitely not the least advantage that we get is low code, no code. So that's actually one of the highlights of using Microsoft Power Platform. It has a very gentle learning curve. And I mean this in actually the most basic of ways. You could actually come in, you have minimal coding experience, and by use of drag and drop functions, you're able to connect or to automate a couple of processes, as I will show within this webinar. And so the punchline there for us is we continue to realize that Power Platform is actually powerful. And I will try to, as much as possible, show you this within this webinar, and we can interact and find more. Off the bat, we will start with Microsoft Power Apps. And so for Microsoft Power Apps, the idea here is that we create applications on the go, and they are used and shared across the organization. And the advantages I will show within the webinar is that the functions or how you create the application itself is a bit more simplified. It has a very usable user interface. So GUI, it's mostly drag and drop, and you're able to create your app in minutes. And so, as I mentioned, you're able to share your application as simply as just sharing a document. So you just put in the email address of whoever you want to share the application with, and you're good to go. You've shared the application for use. The other thing that you notice in Power Apps is data security, and you notice this across all the Power Platform suite, is data security and data governance is actually enhanced, and it is backed up by Microsoft compliance and Azure Active Directory. So all those things compound, and they're actually used even within the Microsoft Power Platform suite. Another advantage that we've actually realized from Power Apps is that it helps us to prototype. So in most cases, and I'll give examples maybe in the next slide, is that if we want to put something in we have an Android app as Twiga that we use. And most of the times, if we want to create it on the fly and see how it will actually function, sometimes you actually put it in a Power App first, because it's just easy to low code, no code, as I mentioned. You create a simple code, a simple app, get it into use, see how it interacts with the user, then we can actually put it into our Android app. The other advantage we get from using Power Apps as a tool within the business is the flexibility to create modules within one app. So with this one, Power Apps enables you to actually get the basic business needs, put them in an app, and actually that one app can have as many modules as you would like it to have. And so some of the examples or some of the things we've actually been able to achieve with Microsoft Power Apps are this. So for our commercial team, we have what we call a market research toolkit. And this particular app actually is used to collect information in the field and aggregate it to make commercial decisions in real time. All right, this is especially important if you're venturing into new markets. So we have our field agents, they go collect information using a Power App, and all that they're in various parts of the country, and then that information is aggregated, used for decision making. Another app that we've created under Microsoft Power Apps is QA sampling. And QA sampling app, what it helps with is our QA team, which is the quality analysis team, is able to sample products in the different markets and then put this information in a Power App in form of text, in form of images, and then this particular information can actually be used again for decision making. The last app that we have there that is also critical to the business is a GP toolkit, which is gross profit. And the idea here with that particular app is to actually get a daily estimate. All right. So as I mentioned, with Power Apps, the advantage is that it might be hard to find an application off the shelf that will fit a specific business need. And this is true for almost all businesses. And therefore, we find Power Apps as the go-to tool when we have a very specific business need that we've not found out there in any application that we have. All right, so allow me to just share my screen. I just want to show you an example of a Power App that we're actually in the process of developing. And then I can show you the different interfaces and you can get to interact with how the app looks like. All right, I hope you can see my screen there. So with this one, we have what we call a room booking app that we've created on Power Apps. It's basically from a template. And then from the template, you just kind of like edit what you actually need. And as I mentioned, you meet specific business needs within your business. And so on the left here, you can see if for those who are familiar with creating apps on Android and iOS, you can see almost the same interface with creating apps. So we have here the different screens, and then we have the different items that you can actually insert. We have labels, we have text, we have buttons, and the different screens just take you through the different parts of the application. And again, as I mentioned, you're creating the app here. You go ahead and if I was just to show, for example, so we have the landing screen here. You've created your app and you actually want to test it out. You just click on the play button there, and then you go ahead and test the application that you've created. All right. So we have this particular Power App here. And as I mentioned, sharing it within the organization is as simply as just sharing another document. So you can just click on share and you're able to share that particular document with people within your organization. So it'll just go to sharing screen and then you put in an email address of people that you want to actually use the application. And so you can kind of have a feel of how Power Apps can be used for a specific business need and how that will be important for Twiga especially. Right. Let me just go back to the presentation here. Yes. All right. So that is for Power Apps and how we have been able to take advantage of that. There are many more other businesses that come up every day, and we continue to explore that as the needs come. The next item that I would like to actually within the list of our platform series suite is the Power Automate, which was previously called Flows, but they now changed the name to fit in the Power family. And so we have used Power Automate to kind of automate business processes that are a bit repetitive. And then the advantage here again is that we're able to use different connectors for applications, and we are able to make even some processes paperless, completely paperless. All right. So some of the examples that we have there of business processes that we've been able to achieve are one, the expense claim approval that is used by our finance team. Two, we have a staff onboarding process that is used by our people operations. Three, we have updating market prices And this one is used by the commercial team. And then 4, we have invoice collection and storage from sent emails by the finance and technology team. All right, so these are some of the automations that we've used within the company. And I'll just take you through an example. I'll pick the first one, which is the expense claim approval. And you can see there we have two differences. You have the manual method and you have the automated method. And so the manual method worked pre-pandemic when all the staff were at the office. So it was very easy to just kind of like print out a form, fill it in the office, take it to your HOD at the desk, take it to the executive at their desk, and then take it to the finance for processing, right? Very easy. But then comes in pandemic, everyone is working from home, and this particular process becomes a headache. So we actually took this process, understood it, had a sit down with the different teams, that's the users, the finance team, and HODs and execs, understood what they actually need, and coming up with an automated process. And this automated process, as outlined there, is just as easy as filling out a Microsoft form. So you fill out a Microsoft form with all the information that is required, that is your name, the type of expense, and the amount. And then once you have that particular information within a form, filling in the form does what we call, and I will show this now as in the lab environment, it triggers a process or an automation to begin. Okay, so you filled in a Microsoft form, and then a process is triggered. And this process, as outlined there in the automated processes, is just something that the Microsoft Power Automate is able to go through and through until it gets to the end. And the first one is just, it picks out your details from the Active Directory. So it picks out who you, as you're filled in the Microsoft form, picks out your information, all right? And then picks that information together with who you are reporting to and who your line manager reports to. So ideally, you're getting your team lead, your HOD, and your executive. So you're getting all that within just your own personal details in the Azure Active Directory. So once it gets that, it then goes ahead to send an email acknowledging that, yes, we've received your request, and it has been sent to your HOD, it has been sent to your exec for processing. So with this automated process, we take advantage of what we call approval engine within Power Automate. And the approval engine is something that has really helped the Microsoft Power Platform to actually thrive, because the approvals run through email or Microsoft Teams. And the idea is you're able to approve on the click of a button, making it very easy for executives and HODs to actually process this kind of information. All right. So I will just go ahead and show a lab session of that so that we are able to get a good feel of how Power Automate works. All right, so I hope you can see my screen there. We have the expense claim approval. And as I mentioned, the trigger is the form that you actually fill in. So once you fill in a form, it triggers this whole process. So the interesting thing here, as I mentioned, it being, as I mentioned, low code, no code, some of these things that are here are actually just drag and drop. And I'll give an example. So if you're adding a function that you want, could be maybe you want an Outlook function, you can just add it there, click on add an action and search for Outlook. And it'll actually bring you the different Outlook actions that you can add within Power Automate. So that's why they really thrive on low code, no code. All right, but just to explain how expense claim works, now that you have the lab session here, is as I mentioned, it picks out, it'll pick out your user profile as the requester, and it will pick out your team lead, and then it will go ahead and now start sending out these approvals. All right. So again, you see here it picks out the HOD. It's very extensive because I like to put it like this: behind every automation is a very intricate process, because a lot of things are actually abstracted. So you abstract a lot of things when you're automating, and that's kind of what is happening here. You're seeing the back end of what is happening, but the front end is actually just filling in a form and getting emails correspondence to and from the user, to the HOD, to the executive, to the finance team. And so that process is completed up until where we have generated a document that now just shows your different your different items that you had itemized within the form. That is the total cost and who was approved and when they have approved it. So here to mention, the advantage you have over maybe something like Adobe Sign, right? Because that usually comes in question. Why not use Adobe Sign as maybe an easy tool? Is that, again, we are trying to really abstract you as a user, sending out emails and maybe forgetting something. We're also trying to abstract, as I have shown here in the, sorry, I'm trying to get, yeah. We're trying to abstract the part for reminders. So within this automation that we've created, there are reminders that are reminding that if the HOD or the executive has not approved within a given period of time, they're given a gentle reminder. All right. So advantages of just online e-sign applications I would actually mention that although some of them have now come up with reminders, the other advantage is, obviously you're getting email correspondence for this. And again, specific business needs. So it actually targets those specific business needs for us. Right. The next member of the Power Platform you're going to check out is Power BI. And Power BI here is just business intelligence. And Power BI actually helps us to analyze and get insights from data. And we do that ideally by just creating dashboards. And they have actually, not potentially, but they've actually replaced some standing meetings. And the advantage here again, like we have across the Power Platform, is that you can connect numerous data sources. For us, some of those examples we have connected are BigQuery, we connected with Azure, we connected with our DMS, which is our data management system. And so we are now able to take advantage of that data that comes from those sources and kind of like create meaningful information from it. And so some of the dashboards we've been able to create within Power BI are, one, the gross profit dashboard, which is a company-wide dashboard. Yep. And actually what it helps with is calculate pain point of costs. And the highlight of it is that it compares across periods. So you have maybe this month, next month, you're able to compare and get where you actually, the changes that happened within the different different pain points. And then we have target against revenue, which is another dashboard that has been in use. For the commercial side of things, we are able to create, you remember how I mentioned we have a market research toolkit in Power Apps? So that information is now analyzed under this particular dashboard, and it brings out meaningful information. So that is actually something, as I mentioned, interoperability. So that is an advantage that we have. So you create an app, a Power App, and then you're actually able to get the insights from Power BI. We have bonus calculation, which is a dashboard that is also used by the commercial team. And then you have the sales dashboard team, the sales dashboard, which is used by the sales team to actually show sales within a given day, within a given period. You can actually filter out. And so I would like to also show an example of a dashboard that we have And this one, I'm going to just target it to what exactly we've used within our company, because the rest are in production. Right. So this particular dashboard that it's loading right now, it's actually one that has helped us in the past to actually look at how our devices, which are our devices in our environment, that's our Windows, our Android, and MacBook devices. The dashboard actually shows us how the policies we put in place, if one, they're being actually installed into the applications, into the devices, if which devices are non-compliant, which policies need maybe a tweaking, and so forth and so on. And so if I was just to show an overview, let me just see if I can maximize this. So for here, for an example, we have, let me just close that. I want to see if I can make it a bit bigger. So we have the devices that are in compliance. You can actually see, according to the policy that you put in, how many devices are actually succeeded by that particular policy. If I was to check maybe non-compliance of devices, because this one is actually what would be the highlight of a team such as the infrastructure team that deals with setting up devices. So you come up here and you check which devices are actually not getting the OS and non-compliant. So you actually filter across the different types that we have in our environment, and you're actually able to see which particular devices those are. And so again, you can see here, it being within the Microsoft environment, you are also able to share it across and actually share it across Microsoft applications. And by Microsoft applications, I mean Outlook, Teams, as you can see here. And then obviously you can actually share the dashboard for editing with any other user. And so, yeah, Power BI has been a great tool in terms of analyzing data for us. Next, within the Power family, let me get my document back. Yep. So we have Power BI there, Power Business Intelligence. So next there is Power Virtual Agents. And this is actually a very interesting part of the Power Platform. Relatively new as well, but it has its advantages. And so for this one, you're able to create bots with, at most times, no code. All right. And so our bots take advantage of the underlying cross-cutting features, as I mentioned, majorly being Power Platform, Power Automate. And then you're able to call different functions and perform different activities within the Power Virtual Agents. The advantage with Power Virtual Agents is that, again, you're able to launch it across the Microsoft environment. One of them being Teams, the ring app where you can set up on Outlook. You're able to actually set up on another website or in different other channels. We have LinkedIn, we have Facebook. So a bot that you create on PVA, Power Virtual Agents, you're actually able to then use it across different platforms without specifically changing it, just sharing it across the different channels. And so some of the things that we've been able to create with Power Virtual Agents as Twiga are this. We have a meal booking bot. This one was by People Operations. And the idea here is to just help members of staff to be able to book meals during the day and actually receive those meals in time. The next one also requested by People Operations is a transport booking bot. And this one is to help users to actually book transport to and from the office. And again, the advantage here is you're able to launch this particular bots on Microsoft Teams. So you don't need another platform to actually ask users to sign in or ask users to go to a particular website. You're just able to create your bot, launch it as in a channel, and actually then again, go ahead and start using it. So again, I'll give an example of the meal booking bot that you have on Teams. Just basic example of how we've been able to use it. Let me share my screen here again. Fantastic. 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, so there we have it. This is the Power Virtual Agents studio, so to speak. And the idea here is, again, more like drag and drop. I'll show you within these functions. So you have your bot here. You can actually test it within this particular pane. And then you have what you call trigger phrases. So the way it's actually set up is the bot is triggered by a phrase, and then it actually responds to what you want. And so again, as I mentioned, drag and drop features, just like the way we have it in Power Automate, in Power BI, Power Apps. If you want to add an action or add a particular message or ask a question, you want the bot to ask a question, you can actually do it as easy as asking that. And then here we have what you call an action. And this call an action references to Power Automate and now expands your world in terms of data connectors. Because again, as I mentioned in Power Automate, data connectors is what sets it apart. You have all those data connectors that I mentioned. You have Microsoft Dataverse as your data tool, as a database. And so you're able to now tap into what Power Automate can do. And you can only imagine what are the possibilities there. And so I'll just give an example here. So we have this bot here. You can see the trigger phase is pretty basic. And so this is just an example of how we've implemented LunchBot within our environment. So simple hi would be nice, right? And so the bot responds, and you can select an office, select office 1, and then choose a meal. And then it tells you have successfully done that. Now, again, as I mentioned, connecting it to Power Automate opens up many other things. And as we have done internally, is that now we've connected our LunchBot to Power Automate by calling actions. So we're able to store this information in a SharePoint list, in a Dataverse, and then you can see now where we're going with this. So if you're able to share it in a Dataverse, you have a data source, so you can actually kind of like get some insights from that data, meaning you can see who has booked, when, and what. So that's the other side. You can also go to Power BI. The other side of Power Automate is you connect to Power BI, to Power Automate, and then you're able to send this particular list of meal bookings to the chef. So the chef has a list they can actually check off when you're coming to collect your meal. So you can see how, again, interoperability within the Power Platform family makes it a world of opportunities for you in terms of what you want to achieve with your business, your specific business need. All right, and then we are going to go over to the last one, the last member and the newest member of the Power Platform family, which is Power Pages. Right. Let me just share my presentation again here. And so Power Pages, again, a rebranding, used to be called Power Portals, if I'm not wrong. And so changed to Power Pages recently. Actually, it's publicly available as of October 2022. And so for those who have used Microsoft Forms, you've noticed some limitations in terms of maybe collecting information from external users. And this particular kind of information is mainly attachments. And so for us as Twiga, what we've done is create a Power Page, and it's as easy as again, drag and drop. And these Power Pages, what they help us with is to collect information from external users. And by external users, I mean people who don't have a domain account, a twiga.com account. And one of those pages that we are actually creating now is the supplier onboarding dashboard. And so this one is used by the supply chain team. And the idea is to actually collect information from a supplier who is supplying Twiga as a company. And the kind of information we're looking for is certificates. We're looking for images of the products that you want to supply. We're looking for just the whole, for those who have done procurement, all the information that you actually require when you're getting a supplier. And so the idea is just to get a one-page website, collect information, and then you also collect information about that particular user who has filled in the information. The other item that we've been able to achieve with Power Pages, and it's also in the process, is meal booking for external users. And so how this will help us, again, you remember when I was starting and I mentioned that data governance and security is actually implemented from the lowest level. And I mean Azure Active Directory as you go on, as you climb the applications. So with Power Pages, you are kind of like able to, apart from the data governance that is assured now under Microsoft, you're able to now create an environment where there's like let me say an open field where you're able to collect information and you're able to store that information within your environment. Again, you can see the advantages here with collecting information. You have a data source. You can actually analyze the data, get some insights on that data. The other advantage now, you can actually go ahead, if it's for meal booking, you connect it to Power Automate. And again, the whole process of getting those meals to the chef and getting them prepared on time is again as seamless as that. And so let me just share my screen here to show you how the Power Pages looks like and a sample site that we've been able to create so that you can able to see that. So if I also show the homepage, so this is just the homepage for Power Pages. Right. So you have here sites that you've created. I just have a sample site here that I want to show you guys so that you're able to understand. So supplier onboarding. And we'll just go ahead and look at it. So again, interoperability. So Power Pages, the underlying, because as I mentioned, it used to be called Power Apps portals. And that's because it used a lot of features that were in Power Apps. One of the major ones being tables. And so tables actually help to collect information within an app and actually stratify the data. So you have here this is a form that we have within the Power Page. And so as you can see, it's just a form to collect information. You have some to upload some attachments and yep, so on and so forth. So you want to get all this information from a supplier and you want to get it in just a one pager and you're done with it. So again, as I mentioned, easy to scale. We're able to create this within a day or two, get it into the production environment, get it in use, get some feedback on how it's being used, and then improve on it. So the agility of actually creating these apps within an environment is actually greatly improved. All right. And that now brings us to the end of the Power family. Those are actually the 5 tools that we have been able to make use of within Twiga and within our business operations, and just to get the most out of it. And so the backbone of all this, or achieving all this, I first and foremost want to say thank God, because we've been able to learn a lot. And kind of like expand our boundaries on this one when we are uncovering some of this. Obviously, again, experiment. So we kind of believe in trial, error, repeat, and succeed. So you get trial, you get an error, you repeat until you succeed. And the next one there we have great teamwork. And the last one, and I would put this as mainly what has been part of the best things there, is that there are lots and tons of online communities out there that actually help with Microsoft Power Platform. There's also a local community known as Power Platform Kenya, which also has some enthusiasts and some, we call ourselves power addicts, and you're able to actually interact and get some solutions when we are stuck. So, and also involving ourselves in bootcamps, hackathons, and events. All right, and I would not end this session without giving a special mention to some of the people who have actually helped with this process and who have actually believed in this within the company. I would like to mention Eric Maina, Kane Wanjao, Francis Mwangi in absentia, and Yvonne Wagasha, and Sheila Wanyama. And then you have Grace Igesha and Alex Muinde and David Washuka, who were in the same team with. We have our IT ops team, which are specifically our testers. And then we have the larger Twiga tech team and the Twiga as a whole, because some of these applications, we actually launch them to them and there's some part of friction, but they actually adapt it and they give very good feedback. I'd also like to mention Handel, who are with the BI team. They have actually helped a lot with that. And also mention our Microsoft partner who are FITS. They have been kind of like holding our hand through when we fall into some deep holes. And the advisory has been top notch. That will mark the end of my presentation. I want to believe there's some questions maybe in the chat. I'll just ask Victor to help with that and I'll be ready to answer.
Hi, Farah. Thank you so much for the wonderful and very, very insightful presentation. Guys, I just want us to give Farah a round of applause, please. Just do the claps, do the laughs, everything you can do. He really deserves that and much more. Thank you so much for the more love. Continue dropping them. That's very good. Thank you so much, Foro. That was very, very insightful. And I'm sure even the guests here, they have really learned a lot. So for the interest of time, we'll just go quickly to the questions. I think I saw like 2 questions. The rest are just the big ups and the congratulations. So let me start with this one from Margaret, our guest. So Margaret is asking, with Power Automate, how do you sync these processes to your Active Directory? Say a line manager leaves, is this automatically updated or human interference is needed? How will you respond on that?
All right, great question, Margaret. Thank you for that. Yes, so there are actually 2 ways to handle that kind of scenario. So yes, initially, yes, you could have it manually, where if a line manager leaves, you're actually changing that manually on the Azure Active Directory. The other thing is you could actually now create another Power Automate that updates line managers or staff exits. And this one, we've tried to implement this still on the process. It kind of interlinks with staff offboarding. So that is actually something that you can automate in terms of updating Azure Active Directory and managers.
Wow, thank you so much, Flora, for that good feedback, or rather the answer. I hope, Grace, you've been well informed about that. So we have another question, Flora, for you from Kata. So Nkatha is asking, hello, thanks for setting this up. I'm Faith Nkatha from Makeba Consulting. Please touch a bit on strategies you've employed to secure user buy-in to using the tools where you have moved from paper-based, especially.
All right, thank you, Katha. An interesting question as well. Obviously, yes, some of the things as app developers we do notice is user buy-in. And for us, one, I would say the pandemic was a good point for user buy-in because, again, there was not a lot of much interaction. People were more willing to actually adopt some systems then. But now, post-pandemic, some of the strategies we can actually involve are what I mentioned, the agile system. So you're creating or you're automating a process in 1 or 2 days, and you're able to get it working and continue to improve it on the go. So that is actually a good selling point for any business processes. If you are able to get it within the shortest time possible and get it right, it's something that can actually get members of your team and your organization to actually use it.
Thank you so much for the feedback forum. I trust, Faith, your question has been answered to the best of his knowledge. I think I have one more from the chat section here. So Franklin Mutua from Franklin Mutua. Franklin is asking, for Canvas applications, which type of data source do you use? Also, what licensing plan is Twiga using?
All right. Thank you for that question. Yes, so for data sources, again, as I mentioned, they're numerous. Depending on business needs, you could actually even get a data source that is an Excel file. So it's not really limited, and I can't again pinpoint what you have to use. It's depending on where your data sits. So if it sits on Dataverse, if it sits on an Excel file, if it sits in a SharePoint list, you're free to actually connect it to a Canvas app and start using it. In terms of our licensing plan, again, depends on business needs, but to get Power Platform, you can get to use Power Apps and the rest of the Power Platform suite as a standalone, or you can get it as an additional to your other Microsoft Office suites. I would advise something Microsoft 365 Business Premium and above. Those usually have what you call the Power Platform apps included. But you'll also notice maybe some tools or some features of Power Platform will also be on pay-as-you-go. So even as much as you have a license, you might have to buy some other standalone.
Wow, thank you so much for answering that to the best of your knowledge. Feel free, guys, to type in your questions. We can have at least an extended of about 5 minutes. We ensure that at least everyone leaves this place with the curiosity you had at least answered. So as we probably wait for some users to type, maybe before I can ask you 1 or 2 questions, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I have like 2 questions here. I would like you to explain and even let our users also have a view of it. What are the additional costs that allow an organization to use Power Platform? Yeah.
All right, yeah. So as I mentioned with the question, so again, depends on your business needs, but I would advise anything that has Microsoft Business Premium, Microsoft 365 Business Premium and above, all those licenses that are above that, then you're able to use them. There are some, and this is maybe this one would come better maybe from Microsoft or from a Microsoft agent or partner, is that some applications, some licenses actually just allow users to view and not edit or use or create those applications. So that's something you can maybe best get from Microsoft partner.
All right, thank you so much. That is well answered. One more last one. I don't know if we have any question from our users. Let me check. So one more question from Robert Tembei. Robert is asking, Microsoft recently announced integrating ChatGPT with Teams. Is this also in the works for Twiga?
All right. Yes. Thank you, Robert, for that question. Yes. So ChatGPT is it's the hype right now. So yes, and as you know, OpenAI is actually owned by Microsoft. So yes, there are some things in the works to get this actually within Microsoft and Teams especially. So those are some of the things that we will be on the lookout for. Obviously, it being owned by Microsoft, we'll have we're not so sure whether we'll get some things that are within the license or we buy separately, but it's something we'll definitely look out for.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I'll be taking one more question for the interest of time. So Franklin Mutua is asking, have you tried co-authoring or rather collaborating on a single Power Apps project?
Yes, thank you, Francis, for that question. Yes, we've done co-authoring a single Power Apps project. It's very possible. As I mentioned, just as easy as sharing a Word document online. So you just put in the email. The caveat here maybe I would put is it only works with people within your organization. You're not able to share it externally for editing purposes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Well, guys, once again, we've come to the end of our webinar session about the Microsoft Power Platforms. I know, and I'm very sure that for each and one and every one of you who attended this session has really learned a lot, or rather maybe your interest has been spiked a lot. And from now henceforth, you'll be seeking more details to get to learn about what is Power Apps and how you can incorporate it in your organization or companies. So once again, I would like to thank you so much for taking your time to attend. Yes, let me check if there is another question. I think only from Miguel. Miguel is asking, does Twiga offer apprenticeship or internship or junior roles for individuals with knowledge and skills on these products such as Power BI? Yeah, that's the question from Nigel.
All right, thank you, Nigel. Yes, these opportunities do come up. So I will ask that you check them out on our careers page on our website. So these opportunities do come up from time to time, and we actually do. We like when people are ready to upgrade themselves with internship opportunities.
Okay. Thank you, Nigel. Keep checking. So now we have come to the end of our webinar session. Guys, be on the lookout for the next webinar session. We'll be hosting a series of webinar sessions, and you will get to really learn a lot on different technologies Twiga is using to deliberate on its business processes. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much. You can leave at your own pleasure.